For friends boarded a flight as family. They landed as enemies. And before morning, they were all gone. Stay till the end, because what happened after that argument will change how you see trust forever. Before we dive in, I need you to do something right away for me. Subscribe to the channel to enable you stay active and updated, and like the video to enable it get to others, and share to keep educating others about life. Thank you. For best friends boarded Flight 712 with laughter, cheap snacks, and a promise to forget their problems for one reckless vacation. Ada, Kemi, Sola, and Tund had survived school, heartbreak, and poverty together in Lagos, so a weekend escape felt deserved. But 30 minutes after takeoff, something shifted. It started with a whisper about money, then a raised voice, then a secret, spoken too loudly. Kemi accused Tund of stealing their travel savings. Sola swore she saw the transfer. Ada tried to calm them, but the truth cracked open like turbulence through the cabin. Passengers stared. A flight attendant warned them. The argument turned ugly, personal, and unforgivable. By the time the plane touched down, the four friends were no longer sitting together. Airport cameras showed them walking out separately. No hugs. No photos. No messages sent to family. No ride requests. Nothing. That night, their parents began calling. Phones rang unanswered. Police assumed it was a reckless holiday decision. Young people disappear for fun all the time. But by morning, their hotel room was untouched. Their bags were still sealed. Their passports were still inside. And somewhere beyond the busy airport roads, a locked industrial freezer quietly hummed nearby. By noon, missing posters replaced hope. Ada's mother stood outside the airport, clutching a printed photo the police had hurriedly copied from her phone. Kemi's brother kept calling hospitals. Sola's father drove to every police station in the city. Tund's family said nothing, but hired a lawyer before sunset. Officers pulled CCTV footage from the terminal. The four friends exited through different doors within 6 minutes. No one followed them. No ride was booked. No cash withdrawal was made. A cleaner mentioned seeing them argue again near the taxi bay. She remembered Ada crying. She remembered Tund shouting, "You set me up." She remembered Sola shaking, and Kemi walking away alone. Investigators labeled it a voluntary disappearance. Friends online disagreed. The argument on the plane leaked through a viral video, recorded secretly by a passenger. The country watched four smiling faces become strangers midair. By nightfall, a security guard from a closed cold storage warehouse called police, reporting a broken lock and a strange smell drifting into the loading yard. Nobody connected the call to the missing friends yet. They would soon. Very soon. And when officers arrived, the freezer door was already sealed from the inside, somehow again tight. The warehouse sat behind a row of abandoned delivery trucks, hidden from the main road by rusted gates and tall weeds. It had not officially operated in years. Still, the security guard insisted the humming never stopped. Police cut the lock just after 2 a.m. Cold air spilled out like breath. Inside, the industrial freezer stood alone in the center of the floor, its power cable snaking through a cracked wall into a private generator. The light above it flickered as officers stepped closer. There were scrape marks on the concrete, as if something heavy had been dragged recently. When they forced the freezer open, no one spoke. For bodies lay stacked unnaturally, dressed in the same clothes from the flight video. Ada, Kemi, Sola, Tund. Their phones were placed neatly beside them, aligned like evidence. There was no visible blood. No sign of struggle inside the freezer. Only frozen skin, stiff hands, and open eyes. One officer quietly vomited behind a crate. The strangest detail came seconds later. The freezer could not be locked from the inside. And yet, the door had been sealed. As forensic teams arrived, a technician noticed something else. The power switch had been turned on less than 2 hours earlier, which meant someone had returned after they were already dead. Forensics confirmed the cause of death by morning. Hypothermia. Slow. Deliberate. The four friends had not been killed before entering the freezer. They had frozen inside it. Their phones became the first real lead. All four devices were unlocked. All four contained the same saved audio file. The timestamp showed it was recorded during the flight. Detectives gathered in a small room and pressed play. At first, there was only cabin noise and muffled voices. Then Tun's voice came through clearly. "You all planned it." Kemi denied it. Sola cried. Ada begged him to lower his voice. The argument spiraled quickly. Tun accused them of reporting him for a fraud scheme that had collapsed days earlier. He said police were waiting for him at the destination airport. He said his name had been removed from a business account minutes before takeoff. Sola whispered something that froze the room. "We only wanted you scared enough to return the money." The recording ended abruptly with Ada screaming his name. Investigators checked immigration logs immediately. Tund had not been flagged. No warrant existed. No police request had been filed, which meant the threat that shattered their friendship midair had come from somewhere else. And someone on that plane had known exactly what to say to break them apart. Passenger manifests were reviewed again, seat by seat. One name stood out. A man listed only as Mr. D. No checked luggage. One-way ticket. Cash payment. No return record. He sat directly across the aisle from the four friends. A flight attendant remembered him clearly. Quiet. Hood up. Never slept. Never used the restroom. But he leaned forward once, during the argument, and whispered something to Tund. Security footage from the jet bridge showed the moment. As passengers disembarked, the man brushed Tund's shoulder. Tund stopped walking instantly. His face drained. 2 minutes later, the argument near the taxi bay began. Investigators finally located airport audio from a nearby camera. The stranger's voice was faint but clear. "You have 12 hours to fix what you stole, or all of you disappear together." Tund never told the others where the message came from. He only repeated the threat as if it were already real. Police traced the ticket payment to a temporary card. The card was funded by a small transfer from Ada's own bank account, and Ada swore she had never made it. Someone had paid to scare her friend. Someone who knew their history. Someone who wanted them separated before they were taken. Traffic cameras finally filled the missing gap. At 6:41 p.m., Ada entered a black ride-hailing car alone. At 6:47, Sola stepped into the same vehicle 3 streets away. At 6:52, Kemi followed. At 7:01, Tund was the last to enter. The system showed 4 different requests. 4 different destinations. 1 identical driver. The car never completed a single trip. The driver profile was new. No photo. No previous rides. The registration plate belonged to a vehicle reported scrapped 2 years earlier. Investigators traced the final signal of the driver's phone to the industrial district near the abandoned cold storage warehouse. Inside the vehicle, forensic teams recovered fingerprints on the inside door handles. All 4 friends. Only one other set. The driver. But the face did not match any national database. The most disturbing discovery came from the ride-hailing logs. Each request had been created from the passengers' own phones, at different times, while they were already inside the same car, which meant someone else had been controlling their accounts remotely, guiding them into one vehicle, one by one, like pieces on a board. And whoever planned it never needed force. They only needed access. And fear. Investigators shifted focus back to the beginning. Not the warehouse. Not the driver. Not the stranger. The friendship. Phone records showed something police had missed. During the flight argument, one call briefly connected to Ada's phone. It lasted 9 seconds. No audio. No caller ID. But the signal bounced through the airport's private Wi-Fi system. That network belonged to only one place: the executive lounge. Security footage revealed a familiar face walking out of it shortly after the four friends boarded their ride. Sola. But Sola was supposed to be inside the car. Except she wasn't. At least, not the whole time. Camera gaps showed Sola leaving the group at the taxi bay for exactly 11 minutes. Long enough to enter the lounge corridor. Long enough to place a call. Long enough to hand something to a staff member. Police confronted the ride-hailing company. Another hidden record surfaced. One ride had been cancelled before the 4 pickups. Booked under Sola's account. Destination: the cold storage warehouse. Sola had created the route first. Then recreated it using her friends. The freezer had not been chosen randomly. It had been chosen early. Before anyone went missing. Before anyone was scared. Before anyone got inside the car. Sola's hidden messages finally unlocked the motive. Encrypted chats recovered from her phone told a different story. Weeks before the trip, she had been quietly speaking to a man saved only as D. Not Mr. D. Just D. Tund had dragged Sola into his failed fraud scheme months earlier. When the money vanished, she became the one the victims chased. Threats flooded her phone. Her address was shared online. Someone sent her a photo of her younger brother's school gate. D offered protection. One condition: bring him to me, and make the others come too. Sola asked what would happen. D replied with a single message: cold ends everything clean. She tried to back out 3 days before the flight. D sent her Ada's bank details, Kemi's ID number, Tund's real location history. He already had access to all of them. The stranger on the plane had not been a threat. He had been a reminder. The ride-hailing car had not been hijacked. It had been pre-built. Sola never expected all 4 to die. She believed only Tund would disappear. But the deal never mentioned mercy. Only delivery. And Sola had already paid the price by agreeing. Sola broke during interrogation. Not with screaming. With silence. She finally admitted the last part investigators could not explain. The freezer. She said the driver brought them in through the loading entrance. He told them it was a private storage unit where they could wait safely while arrangements were made for Tund. He spoke calmly. Almost kindly. Inside the freezer room, he asked them to step inside briefly. Just to hide. Just in case someone was watching. Tund refused. That was when the taser came out. Not a gun. Not a knife. A quiet click. Sola dropped first. Then Ada. Then Kemi. Tund tried to run. He made it to the door. The driver dragged him back by the collar. Sola said the driver locked the freezer door after placing them inside. But she swore something else happened. After he closed it. He stood there. Waiting. Listening. For several seconds. Then he reopened it. Stepped inside. Reached up. And pulled a small red handle hidden above the frame. The emergency release. He snapped it off. From the inside. Then he stepped back out. And sealed the door. Which was why it could never be opened again from within. And why the freezer looked impossible. Because someone had made sure Hope could not survive the cold. Sola became the case's final witness. Not its survivor. 2 days before trial, she was found unresponsive in a hospital bathroom. No visible injuries. No struggle. Only a plastic visitor badge lying beside the sink. The name printed on it was simple. D. Security footage showed a man in a cap walking calmly past the nurse's desk minutes earlier. His face was never captured. The case collapsed fast. The ride-hailing driver was never identified. The stranger on the plane vanished into another country. The payment card dissolved into untraceable layers of digital wallets. Officially, the report closed with one sentence: organized third-party involvement, unknown suspects. But families refused that ending. They released the flight recording to the public. They released the warehouse photos. They released the hidden messages. And the country learned the truth too late. For friends did not disappear after an argument. They were separated, targeted, delivered, one by someone who never needed to touch them to destroy their lives. Only one person knew every weakness in their friendship. Only one person knew how fear would move them. And the most terrifying part was not how cold the freezer was. It was how easily trust became the weapon that killed them. If this story shook you, don't scroll. Follow for more real-style true crime stories you won't hear on the news. Like, share, and tell me in the comments. Do you think Sola was a victim? Or the real beginning of everything?